Today we're going to tie a Bucktail 360, or I call it my bass teaser. Beautiful fly, breathes nicely in the water. So first let's look at the items we're going to need. We're going to need bobbin. I use 70 Denier thread. You can use heavier, a scissor to clip your trimmings and hair with, and some crazy glue to bind your threads. Of course you're going to need a vise or a vise grip, whatever you want to use. The hooks, I used the 1/0 Mustad 3407 tin hook for this fly. I prefer a 1 or a 1/0 for fly casting. I'm just going to throw a little further. As a teaser, I will certainly use a 2/0 and 3/0 for bigger bass at night. This makes a great striped bass teaser. Quick is you're going to use two kinds of fiber. You want to use wavy bucktail for the head portion, and you're going to use at the lower end of your tail the straight fibers for the tail section. So wavy is going to be used last. This is we're going to start with the straight fibers, mostly found at the bottom of your bucktail. So let's get to tying. Now the thing with this fly is you're going to be tying it in rungs, generally 5, but you can use 4 or 3. This one's going to be tied in 5. You're going to use straight bucktail for the back portion, the first 2 rungs, and the first rung is just going to be one long straight piece of bucktail tied straight in, and give it a couple wraps, and all you want to do is tie it in, adjust your hair, and bind it down. And these are basically going to be the 3 basic steps with each layer that you tie or rungs of deer hair or bucktail. So basically you want to tie, adjust, and bind it down, get it so it looks nice. And that's basically the first rung. And you just clip, and what we're going to finally do after we clip is just bind it down real tight, and then we're going to go to the next rung. We're going to start our second rung, and you want to slightly taper this up. I like to come up anywhere between 1/2 to 1/4 inch from my last piece of deer hair for the second rung. And you can see we're going to do a forward and back side. So we're just going to slightly bind down our deer hair here. And when we get it a little bit down, and we're going to adjust the hair. And so in other words, the side facing, of course we're going to clip, but what we're going to do is the side facing opposite at you. We're just going to slightly adjust the hair. And now we're going to tie in our second piece in our second rung of hair facing us. And I like to tie these flies, you can use a big clump of hair if you want and just to adjust it all around, but I like to do a back side and then a front side, so this way I kind of can adjust the hair and get a nice round taper, and it ties fairly quick. Again, adjust your hair, spread it all about your hook, and then now bring your wraps down a little bit more, and this is going to thicken as we build it up. And after this layer, this is straight hair. The first 2 layers are straight hair. So we're just going to clip the hair here, and of course we're going to bind it down fairly well. Now we're going to get into, I'm showing you this piece of wavy hair. It's white, but just to get an idea of the wavy fibers that you're going to be using for the rest of the fly. You can use less wavy and more wavy as you go up. It matters, but now you want to use your wavy bucktail found on the upper end generally of your bucktail piece. So I'm going to do the same thing with the wavy bucktail as I did before. Tie, adjust, clip, and then bind it a little more. And you can see the fly is getting thicker as we go up. And you can tie these in all different colors. I like the black and purples and reds at night. So we're just going to do the side facing up, adjust the hair like I just showed you. Of course you want to get that hair down good, and we're going to clip. And again, remember you want to do the front and the side facing away from you and the side facing towards you. And we're going to bind that down really good. You can start your color here. but I'm going to use black for this. But if you wanted a bigger head on that fly with more color, you can actually start doing it right now. But we're going to stick with black. Now I am starting on the 4th rung, and again the same step, just use your wavier hair as you get closer to the end of the fly. It gives it a nice full body, and that's what you want. And you can see the taper is even getting thicker because those wavy hairs are just thicker. And we're making a bigger thread body. And like I said before, you can glue each layer and wait, let it sit, but I find it fine just like this. So just adjust that hair on the other side, and of course we're going to clip this off when we're done binding it down a bit. And wind down, wind up, and whatnot, and just snip off that hair. And then after this, we're going to bind it a little bit more. I trimmed those hairs off, but we're just going to bind them in. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be the prettiest looking thing. It's going to take a beautiful form when it hits the water. You have to just trust me on this. So again, we're going to take a piece of hair and tie it in front of us. Again, when this thing goes into the water, it has a wonderful, really tapered, lively, pulsating movement to it. So adjust the hair again. Again, all these easy, pretty easy steps. Tie, adjust, bind, wind down, and then you just do like we did, the same side facing you, and clip off that end portion of hair and bind down a little more. And now we're just about ready to finish this fly off. We're going to do the head portion, and you could have started that with this layer if you wanted a bigger head again, but I just like a smaller head portion or colored portion of the fly. And we'll talk about just make sure the last couple of layers are those wavy hairs. That's what you want to use. So let's start the last layer. Now for the last layer, I'm using cerise here. Cerise, red, purple, red will do just fine. I love these colors with the black. And real quick note is I like to make the head a little bit smaller. And you can make it as big, a bigger colored portion as you want, or as small as you want. I like to keep it somewhat small. And another thing I'll show you in just a minute. So we're doing basically the same thing. Now I'm going to use a little bit more hair here, and I'll explain why. I'm just going to clip this hair off. But real quick, if you just wanted to tie this quick, you can use that same strip and work that around. I generally don't like to do that. I like to use the tip portions of the deer hair, not cut portions. I just feel it just doesn't breathe as well in the water. So what I'll do is I'll use a bit more hair. Actually, you're going to use a lot of hair for this fly. So I'm going to use a fresh strip. This is another strip of cerise bucktail. A totally different strip that I clipped off, and I'm tying in. I just feel that the tips, when you cut those tips, they just don't do the same thing as the natural end tip. It breathes better in the water with tips. And I'll use a bit more because now you've got a thicker portion and you're using the tips, and I just think it really makes that fly look fantastic in the water. So I think you can use, sometimes if the hairs are really thick, you'll get away with 2, of course. If they're a bit thinner and you're using just the tips like I am here, you're going to have to use a bit more hair. So I'm just working around filling that fly up with the deer hair, as you can see. You get some of those there black hairs mixed in with the cerise. It kind of meshes in well. I'm not worried about that. And actually those are if you can, want to use up those leftover mixed fiber colors. But we're just about done here. We're just going to bind it down and build out the head on the fly. And that's it. It's just those simple, basic, tie down your hair, bind the hair, build up. You want to use straight hair in the back. You want to use wavy hair after that second layer. front, back, and build up. Do your head of the fly, a couple colors. You can even use one color. And I kind of like to make a nice full, sized head. And I'm just gonna tie this off here, and you use whatever kind of, you can use a hitch or whatnot. You don't even need to tie a knot. You can just, what we're gonna do now is hitch it off, and you can just use glue. And I like to finish whatever kind of crazy glue or liquid nails, anything, Sally Hansen, whatever you have laying around. Epoxy works great. And that's it. This is my #1 bass teaser fly that I like to use. It's a fuller form. Looks, I'm going to show you a picture again. It takes on a really nice taper in the water, and it'll actually, the way it pulsates and breathes is fantastic. But I'm going to get going here. Thanks for watching. Please like, dislike, subscribe to the channel or not, comment, and remember always fish away. And thanks again for watching. Any questions, just drop a line. I'll be happy to get back to you. And have a great day, night, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And I hope you catch a bunch of fish with this lure. We'll see you next time.